Welcome, friends. Tonight, let me tell you a story that began in the middle of a crowded, luxurious restaurant where laughter and music filled the air. A handsome man, a single dad, and a powerful CEO millionaire was on a blind date arranged by his business partners. Sitting across from him was a beautiful woman in a red dress, nervous but hopeful. She thought this could be the beginning of something new, but suddenly, a young waitress in a white blouse and red skirt stormed over to their table. Her voice shook the entire hall as she pointed angrily at the woman. Gasps filled the room. Cameras were raised, people whispered, and humiliation burned in the air. What no one knew was that this waitress had been paid to ruin his blind date, to embarrass the woman and make sure the night ended in disaster. The woman in red looked down, her eyes brimming with tears, feeling crushed in front of everyone. But just when the trap was about to succeed, the CEO reached across the table, gently holding her hand. His calm voice silenced the chaos. "Enough. I don't care about what people planned or what they want to see. I see your heart, and that is all that matters." Everyone froze. The waitress, who was secretly trembling inside, realized the man wasn't angry at all. Instead of being humiliated, the single dad millionaire fell in love in that very moment. Love had found a way even in the middle of betrayal and shame. Friends, sometimes life places people in front of us, not by accident but by fate. Even when others try to destroy something beautiful, destiny always finds a way to protect true hearts. So if this story touched you, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment and share. And always stay connected to my channel, Soul of Kindness. The restaurant grew silent after his bold words, but the storm had only just begun. The woman in red, still holding his hand, whispered softly, Why are you protecting me? You don't even know me." Her voice trembled, but in her eyes, hope began to flicker. The single dad CEO leaned closer, his tone firm yet tender. "Because I know what it feels like to be broken, to be judged, to be laughed at. And I will never let anyone go through what I went through, not while I'm here." The crowd around them shifted uneasily. Some lowered their phones, ashamed of how quickly they had turned her pain into entertainment. But in the far corner, a group of people watched, with tight jaws, the very ones who had paid the waitress to ruin the evening. They whispered angrily, realizing their plan had failed. And then something unexpected happened. The waitress, the very one hired to humiliate the woman, stepped forward. Her eyes filled with regret, her hands shaking as she said, "Stop blaming her. It wasn't her fault. It was me. I was paid to destroy this date." Gasps spread again. The blonde woman looked at her in shock. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not from anger, but from the unbearable weight of truth. But before anyone could speak, the CEO rose from his chair, his tall frame commanding the entire hall. He looked directly at the men in the corner and said, "You think money gives you power, but tonight you lost, because love cannot be bought and respect cannot be stolen. You tried to break her, but instead you showed me how much she deserves to be protected." The audience, once only spectators, now began to clap, slowly at first, then louder, until the entire restaurant echoed with applause. The woman in red covered her face, overwhelmed, while the waitress fell to her knees in tears, whispering, "I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt anyone." And in that moment, the CEO didn't just defend a woman he barely knew. He showed the world what true strength looks like: compassion, courage, and love. Welcome, friends. Life will always test us with betrayal, with judgment, with cruelty. But when we stand up for what's right, we not only change someone else's life, we change our own. So don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. And keep following my channel, Soul of Kindness, for more stories that touch the heart. Welcome, friends. The night at the restaurant had ended in thunderous applause. But for the single dad CEO and the woman in red, their story was only beginning. Later that evening, away from the bright chandeliers and curious stares, they found themselves walking together in the quiet glow of the city streets. The woman clutched her red dress nervously, her eyes still wet with tears. She finally broke the silence. "You don't understand. I wasn't supposed to be here tonight. I didn't even believe in blind dates. My friend forced me. And when everything went wrong, I thought maybe this was just the world telling me I don't deserve happiness. Her voice cracked. She tried to smile through the pain, but the truth in her heart was spilling out. The CEO stopped walking and turned to face her. His eyes softened, and he placed his hand gently over hers. Don't ever say that. Happiness isn't something you deserve or don't deserve. It's something we all have the right to fight for. I know, because I once thought the same. She looked up at him surprised. His powerful presence, the millionaire status, the CEO title, it was easy to believe his life was perfect. But now his voice carried a vulnerability she had never imagined. He continued, "When my wife left me, I thought my world had ended. I became a single father overnight, with a child looking up to me while I was breaking inside. People saw the wealth, the success, but inside, I was empty. I thought I'd never trust love again." Her lips parted in shock. Suddenly, he wasn't a stranger, not just a powerful man on a pedestal. He was human, just like her, scarred and wounded. And for the first time that night, she reached out and held his hand back. Her tears fell freely now. But they weren't tears of shame, they were tears of relief. Someone finally understood her pain. In the distance, the city lights shimmered like stars. For the first time in years, both of them felt that maybe fate hadn't been cruel after all. Maybe it had brought two broken hearts together, not to suffer but to heal. Friends, sometimes the people we least expect come into our lives to teach us the meaning of love, trust and courage. And when two wounded souls meet, they don't just fall in love, they rebuild each other's strength. So if this moment touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment and share. And remember to keep watching Soul of Kindness for more stories that remind us of the beauty of humanity. Welcome, friends. After that unforgettable night, days passed quietly, but the bond between the single dad CEO and the woman in red grew stronger with every meeting. Yet there was still one moment he feared most, the moment when she would meet the most important part of his life, his little daughter. One evening he invited her to his home. His mansion, though grand and filled with wealth, often felt empty and cold. But tonight he hoped it would feel different. As she walked through the tall doors, nervous but smiling, a small voice echoed down the staircase. "Daddy, who is she?" A little girl in pajamas, clutching a teddy bear, stood on the stairs with curious eyes. The woman's heart melted instantly. She knelt down, her red dress flowing around her, and whispered gently, "Hi, sweetheart. I'm just a friend of your dad." The little girl studied her for a moment, then walked closer. Without hesitation, she placed the teddy bear into the woman's hands and said softly, "You can hold him. He helps when you're sad." Tears filled the woman's eyes. She hugged the teddy bear like it was the most precious gift in the world. The CEO, watching from the side, felt his throat tighten. He had never seen his daughter open her heart so quickly to anyone, not even family friends, not even his business partners who tried to win her smile. The little girl then climbed onto the woman's lap and whispered, "Are you going to stay? Daddy is always lonely." The room fell silent. The CEO's eyes glistened, the weight of years of loneliness pressing on him. The woman looked up at him, her tears shining but her smile steady, and replied softly, "If your daddy will let me, then yes, I want to stay." The little girl wrapped her tiny arms around her, as if sealing the promise herself. And in that embrace, the single dad CEO finally felt what he had been missing all along. Not just love, but a family. Friends, life has a way of healing us in ways we never expect. Sometimes it takes the innocence of a child to remind us that love is not complicated. It's simply about choosing to stay, even when everything else tries to fall apart. So if this scene touched your heart, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. And always remember to stay connected with Soul of Kindness. Welcome, friends. Weeks had passed since that night, and what began as a blind date meant to be ruined had now turned into something far more powerful, a love story written by destiny itself. The single dad CEO had found not just love, but peace. His daughter laughed more these days. The house felt alive, and the woman in red had become the heart of both father and child. But one evening he realized something. If he didn't take the next step, he might lose the chance to make this happiness last forever. So he planned a dinner in his private garden under the soft glow of fairy lights. The table was set simply, not with gold or luxury, but with warmth. Flowers, candles, and a quiet breeze carried the scent of hope. She walked in, wearing a gentle smile, not knowing what awaited her. The little girl came running out first, holding a folded paper. She handed it to the woman, who opened it carefully. Inside, written in childish handwriting, were the words, "Will you be my mummy?" Her heart stopped. Tears welled in her eyes as she looked up, only to see the CEO standing there. On one knee, a small velvet box in his hand. His voice trembled, but his eyes never left hers. "The night we met, people tried to destroy us. They paid to turn us into a story of humiliation. But instead, it became the most beautiful chapter of my life. You healed my broken heart. You gave my daughter a reason to smile again. And you showed me that love is stronger than betrayal. So tonight, I don't just ask you to be my partner. I ask you to be the missing piece of our family. Will you marry me?" Her tears flowed freely as she dropped to her knees, hugging him and the little girl together. The fairy lights sparkled above them as if the stars themselves had bent down to witness this moment. She whispered through her sobs, "Yes, yes, I will. I will stay. I will love. I will never let go." The little girl squealed with joy, wrapping her arms around them both. For the first time, the mansion didn't feel like a lonely palace. It felt like a home. Friends, life is unpredictable. Sometimes pain enters to destroy us, but out of that pain comes a miracle we never imagined. True love doesn't just happen, it survives trials, tears, and tests. And when it's real, it builds not just a bond, but a family. So if this story touched your soul, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. And remember to always stay connected with Soul of Kindness, where love and compassion live forever.